Starliner Media. Starliner Media presents Music Night at the Majestic with your host, Michael Boswell.
All right, it's time once again for Music Night at the Majestic, and with us tonight, Arthur Hanlon. Arthur, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Michael. How are you doing?
Doing great. So I'll tell you, I find you to be a very interesting guy. You're born and raised in Detroit, and you wind up #1 on the Latin charts in Billboard. Probably something that you wouldn't have expected when you were, say, 8th grade music class.
No, I was not sitting there playing my saxophone and piano in Detroit. I did not expect this at all, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the thing about Detroit's such a great music city. Now obviously you've got all the Motown, but Detroit's a great rock city too. You Mitch Ryder and the MC5 and Bob Seger, Marshall Crenshaw, and hundreds more, if not thousands. Tell us about your musical journey.
It started when I was actually 6 years old in Detroit. Never forget it. 3 days before Christmas, my dad was surprised, bought a little piano for the kids for a Christmas present. I have 6 brothers and sisters, and he came in, and an hour later, his best friend, who was a professional pianist playing all around Detroit, came over and to demonstrate what the piano was. And the guy sat down, Michael, and just started playing, and I couldn't believe it. I mean, talk about being in a trance. And my brothers and sisters were dancing around the house, and I was just like by the side of the piano like this, just like staring. And that was pretty much it, to be honest. It's a really simple story, but it just hit all my nerves, my passion, and it just kind of in one giant wave. And here I am.
Well, tell me this: were you? What type of music were you listening to? Because I'm guessing you were probably, the family was probably music oriented.
They were music oriented, but no one was a professional musician. I was listening to, we were talking about Motown. I was listening to Motown and Bob Seger and all that wonderful rock out of Detroit, the later rap. I don't know what it is. Maybe something in the water, in Detroit water. It's really kind of strange, all the music everywhere. And so, listening to Detroit radio, pop radio even, you just had such a wide range of styles and not to mention my mentor, my dad's best friend who didn't read a note of music. He taught me how to play by ear. So I was just really kind of all over the place from a very young age. Oh, this is cool. Just grabbing and mixing and trying to create music. Yeah.
Tell me this. Do you remember the first song that really grabbed you? Did you rush out and buy 45s or albums, or was it more, you heard it and you liked it and it just stuck with you?
When Songs in the Key of Life came out, that album, I listened to it like literally thousands of times. Every single song. In particular, the first one, Isn't She Lovely? Just that vamp, just got all those songs on that album. That was definitely I still have it, actually.
I think we all do.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that album combined a lot of different sounds, which is something that you have done in throughout your career, where it's not just like listening to your music. You're not just straight this style or that style. You combine all the things that you like into your music.
Yeah, that's definitely what I do. I started playing professionally in Detroit at 17, bars, restaurants, clubs, anywhere, and they can make a few bucks. And then I played with a Motown band, like several Motown bands, and they always had a percussionist. And it was always a mix. And mentioning Stevie, Don't You Worry About a Thing is, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. That's cool. And then I had an opportunity to go to New York. Actually, my parents insisted, like, if you're really serious about music, you got to go to where the best are. If you get in there, we'll talk. But we're Irish immigrants. We work in this family. I don't see. My dad was like, music, maybe. But then I got exposed to Latin music in New York, and for me, it was like kind of like a continuation of what I was already listening to and exposed to. And the experience there really changed. And really, it really came into focus really what I wanted to do.
Yeah. Well, tell me this: when you're in New York, and now you're exposed to all the Latin music, what artist was it that first struck you that had that impact where you say, well, you know what, I want to investigate this and find out more?
I went to hear amazing Cuban jazz saxophone player Paquito de Rivera play with Michel Camilo on piano, and that just blew me away completely. The Grupo Nietzsche from Colombia, the Mexican bolero singers. You could go at any given weekend and there's music. As you know, it was like Motown on steroids. It was like all these styles and mixing things. And and I was living by Manhattan School of Music, which is like Morningside Heights, and the late 80s, early 90s. That was like full of to this day, Dominicans, Colombians, Puerto Ricans. And it was really impossible for me not to hear all that music and say, oh, wow, this is cool. Even though I was doing my master's in classical piano, I just gravitated there. And my mom actually started calling me Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde because during the day, right? And then at night, I was just mixing things constantly all the time.
Mm-hmm. No, well, that's what's great about music. Yeah, because if you're passionate about music, whether you play or whether you're someone who just loves it, when you don't listen to just one style and you end up incorporating things, whether it's making a playlist, to listen to in the car or what have you. If you're really passionate about music, you end up combining different styles and genres and artists that on the surface sometimes may not look like they you expect to hear within one list. Same thing goes for those who make music, where you combine things, say a rhythm pattern from one style, and maybe the piano is from something else, or the guitar something else, and it creates this unique sounding piece of music that is simultaneously familiar but yet fresh at the same time.
Wow, Michael. Yeah. And that's exactly it. And I always think, there's magic everywhere, and there's music everywhere. There's magic. You just have to find it. And as to your point earlier, a lot of people, they like to put you in a category. You're this, you're that, you're that. Okay. You're a black guy. You play jazz and blues. I'm white. I have to play rock, and I never saw things that way. And it really struck me because I was graduating. I had this vision of Latin music. I could mix things. And my mentor was a guy named Roy Eaton. He's a Chopin master, at least a master. He was my biggest mentor, and he pushed me along in New York and said, open, expand your boundaries, get out of your comfort zone. But I was graduating. I'm like, Dr. Eaton, I have this thing. I'm kind of nervous. Well, we're very nervous. I have this thing I want to do, but you say, what? Right? There's one problem. I love Latin music. I love mixing things, but I'm a white guy from Detroit. And he got really serious. He's like, Arthur, look at me. I'm a Chopin expert. I'm black, and I'm 70 years old. And everyone told me I had the talent, that I had to play blues and jazz, but that was not. He said, you have to just follow your soul. And to this day, it's like my mantra. And I wake up every morning, you got to follow your soul and you be true to what you do, and things will happen.
Music knows no color.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And music is a thing that can bring people different cultures. You could speak with, be with someone who speaks a different language to where you cannot communicate verbally. But with music, you can find something, that you both can relate to and enjoy, and that builds a bond.
Yeah, it's like the magic. Like, as you know, I'm sure in New Orleans, just this wonderful mix of the Europeans, the Creoles, and Colombia was the same thing, and Cuba was the same thing, and I'd say in Motown too was that mixing and blending of things, and what can we come up with that's fresh and different?
Right, exactly. Well, now on your first album, that opening track, Vámonos Compadre, that has got such a great groove to it. And then but you've got other elements in there. And to me, that was like the perfect track to open that, because it just says, right up front, listen to all these different things at once. I'm all of these things simultaneously.
Oh, thank you, Michael. I wrote that song years ago, and then looking for a great spot for it. And I played it for Motif, the producer of the HBO special. And he's like, I'm like, what do you think? He goes, no, that's it. That's you. It's got that Motown thing going on, and it's Latin, and it's everything. So it ended up being, the intro, the opening to the whole show.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, since we're talking about that, let's jump forward to that. For those who don't know, and they can stream on HBO Max right now. You have a special, and it is you, and is it 5 female vocalists?
5 divas, yeah.
And I've watched it several times, and what I like about it is the fact that it is music focused. There is enough background information between you and the other artists on there with you, but it is about the music, and you can see how much everyone is enjoying it. So tell us about how did the special come together?
Well, the official title, Piano and Woman in English, Piano y Mujer, was born last year. My second album with Sony, What Are We Going to Do? When we thought that the concept of piano, y mujer, woman. But for me, I fell in love with the concept when I was 17. Going back to Detroit, and I was playing in a band, and a lot of times we were the house band at the social hall, and a lot of times they didn't have money for the whole band, so the agent would say, "Okay, we'll send Arthur, this piano, and the female vocalist." It was always Arthur, the cocktail party, the after party, Arthur and the vocalist. So it's a format which I love doing, because you can express yourself, and you can, you're not just accompanying, but you're making like a synergy together between the two elements. And I had in the back of my mind, and for years. And then when the pandemic hit, I thought, okay, there's no airplanes, there's no touring. Now is the perfect time to put this thing together. And here we are.
Yeah. Now tell me this: how did you choose the ladies who sang with you?
Well, that part, I just, I got the green light from Sony to do it. They said it's a great idea. So they had some ideas, but I basically just got on my phone and called my friends, people that I've worked with before that I know really, really well, that I know are amazing performers. That, Nella, we did our first showcase together, huge showcase for Sony, and I was late. We didn't rehearse. We went out and just did it. It was amazing. Natalie Cole from Spain is one of my best friends, and Connie Garcia is from Puerto Rico, Gojo from Colombia. So that was the easy part, Michael. The hard part, everyone's like, I'm down. I'm sitting at home. I'm going to do it. But Gojo was in Colombia. Connie was in Puerto Rico. And Natalia was between Spain and Mexico. So it was a mess. In the height of COVID. How are we going to put this thing together? So finally, initially the label's like, all right, for safety reasons, you do your pianos in your house, in your studio. The women, they can record there. We'll put it together. And then I had to get with Motif. We're like, no, this is so special. Maybe it was because of the energy of the COVID and we missed performing so much. We're like, we're doing it live. We want to do it live. So we recorded everything together in the studio. It was a miracle that we got together and they were, but that's how we did it. We recorded everything live in the studio. And of course, the special we recorded together too.
Yeah. Well, you say in any relationship, whether it's, personal, business, music, what have you, chemistry is the key. And you really seem to have chemistry with everybody involved in this.
You read my mind. It's one of my mantras too is, a lot of people do, with different labels, let's put this artist together with this one, but I can't really work that way. I've tried it. For me, if there's not chemistry, it's whether you're meeting someone at a party or on the street. If I don't feel that thing to bring it to another level, I just don't feel it. And with everyone involved, Gojo's like, Arthur, I'm in Colombia. The family's great. Thanks. But just let me know and I'll be there, and also because we didn't have restrictions in the studio. Normally, a session's 3 hours or 4, maybe 5, you're in and you're out. Okay. But hardly anyone was recording. So we had instead of 3-4 hours, we had 3 days with each artist to really dig deep and, all right, what different ideas can we come up with? And that's for me what made this whole project so special is, time to reflect and time to think of family and music and the world and the passion of the music and how can we make something really positive for people.
Exactly. No, I say it's thoroughly enjoyable, and say the performances are great, and say you can tell that everybody is really enjoying themselves.
It was amazing. I'll never forget Connie. When we filmed for HBO, we did the album and HBO loved it. So they said, okay, let's make a special. So we went to the Havana Hotel here in Miami Beach, which was completely closed, but they opened it up for us, their theater there, to do this. So we turned the whole theater into a soundstage. And this is October when it was really intense here in Miami. My God. And then when Connie walks in with a mask on and a shield on, I had 2 masks on, but I could tell we looked at each other in our eyes thinking, this is insane. What are we doing? There's like 40 people, the camera crews and everything. But we said, we're here to make music. We all got tested, whatever. And we took the mask off and started playing. It really was euphoric. All of us, it was just, this is amazing. We're doing what we're meant to do, really, is what it was.
Exactly. Now, the watching some of your videos for your music, you have recorded videos in a lot of really cool places. Why don't you tell us about a few of the videos that you've done? The one you're actually looks like you're on a helipad on top of a building.
That was in Mexico City. I like, I'm a pianist and a composer, obviously, and I don't like to just, okay, here's the song, I'll play the melody, and that's like, what can we do? What can it make it? So I had this crazy idea, how about put the piano, because I always call this my vehicle anyway, it's to transport people to a different place if possible. That's my mission in life. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's put it up on the top of the Sony building. It had never been done before, so we did that. And then I did a PBS special about 10 years ago, which I'm proud of because it was the first PBS special dedicated to Latin music. And we found this castle in Puerto Rico, which is it's a national monument, a United States national monument. And we turned it into a soundstage. I invited Mark Anthony and Laura Pausini from Italy and Natalia, my friend who's on this as well. And we turned the whole castle into a giant, like a theater. And so that was rather interesting.
Yeah, the castle, was it 500 years old?
It's a 500-year UNESCO, I guess it is, castle. They had never permitted music before. So I went to meet with the governor, literally the governor of Puerto Rico, and I'm this gringo. I'm inviting, we're going to celebrate Latin music and mixing the cultures. It's going to be great. I say, I don't know, but finally he said, okay, Arthur, go for it. You sound crazy enough for me to do that. And he gave, let's do it. So,
who's this guy from Detroit that wants me to open up this thing for the first time?
Who is this guy?
Yeah. Now you shot another video in Havana, correct?
Yeah, with Orishas. Yotuel is my very good friend. And it's called Gringo en La Havana is the real name, the American in Havana. It's called Como Suena el Piano. It's about this American guy that goes to Cuba, and which we did, and it was a couple nights. It was insane, Michael, because I'd never been to Cuba before, and just to walk the streets, Orishas are super famous internationally, and everyone's like, isn't that's because they know my music. Is that gringo, that guy playing the piano? We went to a club and started jamming, and then he went crazy, and we filmed it. Lovely people, it's a shame obviously what's going on there. Everyone's so musical, and yeah, that was quite an experience as well.
Yeah. Well, I say the fun. It looked in that video, it looks like everybody's just having a great time.
Yeah, we were. No one slept, and we were slap happy because we got to get the camera crews through. They weren't allowing it at the time. They kept going back and forth. Yes, you can, and then they changed the law, and so we came. So Sony's camera guys, I think I can say this, said there were tourists just taking these amazing cameras. And the guy's like, these look like really expensive cameras. No, I'm just an amateur. So it was crazy.
You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, exactly. But again, to say it, the surprise, the contrast, no one was expecting to see me walking the streets of Havana with orishas and playing the song.
Yeah. Now, tell me this: your blue piano. What is the origin of the famous piano it being blue?
It's because I grew up playing a mahogany piano, and they're always black, generally black or mahogany, sometimes white. And then I saw this blue piano. At the time, I was with Baldwin, Baldwin artist. I'm now with Yamaha, but the color struck me. It just wow! It was visceral. I said, I want this piano. It's
Mm-hmm.
they're all, as you know, pianos like guitars, all instruments, they all have their own personalities too. So, yeah, my best friend here.
Now, when you're touring, do you take your favorite piano with you, or do you have a separate piano that you use on the road?
It depends where. Like for the PBS special, we brought down. We flew in from Miami, one like this, only 9 foot. Now that I'm with Yamaha, they're amazing. So everywhere you go, they'll say, okay, I'm going to be in Los Angeles. They'll put a piano there, which is great. And they're really cool because Yamaha loves also different colors and, different, people with crazy ideas, which sometimes work and sometimes don't, but it's always fun trying it. So.
Well, I'll tell you, mention crazy colors in the Piano y Mujer special. You've got some boots on that are, as a boot guy, I saw those like, okay, I'm impressed, but they were like silver. And what was what were those? Is that something that you wear that you're part of your style, or is that something you wear for the show?
People ask me that a lot. I'm like, right now I've got like sandals on because we're on Zoom. Yeah, but when I'm playing, I love to create this. How can I create this energy to get the most of it? And as a piano, you're constantly using the pedal, so your feet are really important too. So it's kind of like makeup for my feet, I guess, I suppose.
Well, I figured that people watching it would probably notice those. That's why I brought it up. So.
Yeah, people. Do you always dress like that? Not at breakfast, I admit. But.
Oh man! Now things are starting to open up again. So the any upcoming tour dates that you're working on?
Yeah, we're really excited. We're starting to rehearse the band now, and in several weeks we're going to play Los Angeles, New York, Puerto Rico, and Miami. And then we're talking to promoters in Mexico and Chile and Colombia. So I'll be there the first quarter for next year. They're down because things are opening up there finally. They're like a little bit behind us. And so just the prospect, going into these rehearsals again, everyone's like, oh, this is so much fun. We're here playing music, and and streaming can be fun too, but it's just not the same. You can imagine you finish something, and then there's like silence in your house. Nothing like that when you're playing in the back and forth between people and other artists, and obviously we all miss it.
Yeah, well, that's that energy that music brings, and that brings us all together. We all feed off of it.
Yeah, exactly. It's the back and forth. And doing a streaming, it's kind of the back, but there's no forth, and so we're gonna have a great time. I can't wait. The theaters are ready, and we're starting rehearsals, so we're super happy.
Yeah, well, plus, I would imagine that it is difficult to perform without an audience because you don't have that immediate feedback, and you can't see the smiling faces and the nodding heads and everybody getting into the music.
That's exactly it. And we're filming, the special Piano y Mujer, and I'm with Connie. And there wasn't an audience, but there was like 40 people that were working there, but they're all really into it. And we finished, they all started clapping. And Connie just says, "Euphoria!" We haven't played live in 15 months. Her touring schedule's 6. She's like all over the world. And so just from that little, just that little piece of response was just incredible, positive energy.
Absolutely. Now, speaking of positive projects, you did the Drops of Life. Tell us about that.
Wow, that was pretty deep. That was also about 9 or 10 years ago. There's a hospital in Los Angeles called City of Hope, that specializes in a lot of children, people with kids with cancer and that kind of thing. And they had this little thing. Their logo is this little gota de la vida, drop of life. It's to get people to donate blood and bone marrow, take bone marrow tests and all that to really move this along. And a lot of kids don't, there are people they kind of shy away from that. So I toured the hospital, and it just struck me like, wow, they were so glad to see me. I played a little piano for them. And so I wrote this song, kind of a We Are the World thing, and invited everyone I knew in the music industry. And we had like 40 or 50 people, including Placido Domingo, Enrique Iglesias, everyone in the Latin world, pretty much. They all donated their time and showed up. And it's still, the City of Hope still uses that song, Gota de la Vida, Drop of Life, as their theme song.
Yeah, that's great. I like when projects like that come together.
Yeah, and you can just feel that energy. And no one got paid for it. I gave them the song. It's a beautiful thing, and they were so appreciative. Everyone involved, from this hospital, the administration, on down to the kids. It was wonderful, beautiful.
Yeah. Now, tell me this, to digress for a moment here. As far as pianists go, who would you cite as being like your biggest influences?
Oh God, I've got so many. Armando Manzanero from Mexico, famous. You probably know him from Somos Novios, It's Impossible, which was this huge smash hit worldwide. Michel Camilo from Dominican Republic, of course, Elton John, Billy Joel, Stevie Wonder. Since I was a little kid, is one of my all-time favorites, because everything he does, mixing cultures and mixing rhythms and grooves. There's tons. I have my wall of respect there. I've got Liberace there. I've got Agustin Lara from Mexico. Of course, Frank Sinatra, and George Gershwin. Classic rock.
Well, tell me this: of those performers, what are some of their songs that stick with you that you found the most inspiration in?
The most inspiration. Well, Stevie's obviously "Don't You Worry About a Thing," and "Isn't She Lovely?" And Ernesto Lecona, they from Cuba. The Cuban rhythm that he plays, the Armando Manzanero. There's a rhythm in Mexico called Huapango. It's like the jacket, the jan, jacket, the jacket. I love when you can just really focus in and okay, what were they thinking when they wrote that? They heard this traditional rhythm, then they came up with something completely different. Say, wow, then it kind of this like window opens. Okay, now I get what they're doing. It's fascinating to this day. I could talk all night about it with you.
Well, I'll tell you, going back to one of your previous albums, Piano Sin Fronteras, if I said that properly, which I probably didn't.
Perfect.
Tell us about that album, because again, you got to work with some pretty amazing people on that project.
Yeah, it was Piano Sin Fronteras is Piano Without Borders. There's what was inspired me, obviously, Doctors Without Borders, and why not Piano Without Borders? It's what I was doing anyway, and so I explained it to the label. They loved it, and I called again people I worked with, some great friends, some not so great friends, or people I just acquaintances. But I called Luis Fonsi, who I know really well, who's now super famous for Despacito, and he was on it. Juanes from Colombia, who's an amazing guitarist and singer. Ricardo Montaner, whose daughter I did Alleluia with.
Right.
So it's like a family connection. And that was my first album where I was able to explore about outside, going outside. Okay, instead of just let's just do a studio in the album, they were like, Arthur, okay, what do you want to do? And I had this idea. It's like, okay, go to Chile talk to Miriam Hernandez, go to Puerto Rico, go to Mexico, and go to Colombia. So that was an amazing experience.
Yeah. Well, tell me this: when you're going to different countries, are there different approaches, style-wise, in the recording studio that help give a different sound to those to each recording?
Let's see. In the studio, there is differences, definitely. Like in Spain, they drink red wine. In Mexico, there's a lot of tequila. And so I'm just kidding. It's the studio. The process is pretty much this. the same. Obviously, the rhythms are a lot different. For my album Viajero, my first album with Sony, I went to 10 different countries. 9 actually, yeah. But I went to Spain, Italy, Portugal, and we recorded in all these Rio and Brazil, Argentina, Mexico, and the process is the same. As obviously, as you were saying, it doesn't matter the language. It's a matter of you feeling the energy and hanging out. It always starts with a nice meal, of course, and getting to know the person, and then getting that chemistry going, and then, yeah, that's a good idea. Oh, that's a good idea. And then the next day you go to the studio and you're just getting to know each other. But then by the second or third day, it's like, hey, it's the energy really starts to flow, and you can, okay, you can come up with some ideas.
Yeah. Now tell me this, since you've worked with so many people, who's somebody that you haven't had the opportunity to work with yet that you really would like to?
Oh, wow. Juan Luis Guerra is one. He's from the Dominican Republic, and really he invented the bachata rhythm. I mean, it was there, but he popularized it. I always wanted to work with Natalie Cole, and fortunately, her last album was Natalie Cole in Espanol, the last album before she passed away. And I did a duet with her, a version of Oye Como Va. So that was really powerful for me, just to be able to hang out with her and hear stories about her life and her dad and all that stuff. That was amazing. And also, it's like, who do I want to work with next? I know something's going to come up. I just don't know who that person is yet. I just like to keep digging, looking for the magical things in the music. And then invariably something will come up like, oh, that's a cool idea. This guy, heard you and he wants to connect. Then you get together, then there's chemistry, and then wow, boom. And then, you have something.
Yeah. Well, tell me this. You mentioned Natalie Cole. Yeah. Telling you stories about her dad. Do you remember a particular story that she told you about him?
Well, just that was incredible to me that, he started as a pianist. He had his trio, which I didn't know. And then he started singing. And then apparently he got a TV show, but it was only 10 minutes long or something. And then they canceled it because, of the color of his skin or something insane like that. But, and
he had a great line about that. Actually, I believe it was about advertisers not wanting to advertise on his show. And Nat's line was, Madison Avenue's afraid of the dark. And I thought, what an incredible line, because it said so much, so succinctly, without having to, go on any, with a rant or what have you. Just subtle to the point and very, very cunning.
Wow, Michael, I did not know that. And I knew basically the show got canceled, but I was vague. And Natalie was just she didn't want to really get into it either. And, but what a way for him to handle it, like an amazing gentleman, and just
class.
Yeah, exactly. Wow.
Yeah. So, as you can tell, I'm a huge, have a huge appreciation for Nat's work. So
I'm going to remember that. That's amazing.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned before about inspiration. When you're writing songs, are you someone who finds you have a nugget of an idea and you build from there, or sometimes do you see something, does that trigger, or do you hear just hear a sound? It may not even be music, but just sounds that might trigger, hey, that would make for an interesting rhythm pattern or what have you?
Definitely. It's really all of the above. It's just, for me, it's making sure that I'm keeping open, keeping open to different ideas or whatever comes up. A lot of people say, oh, I was away from my instrument, this melody came to me. Usually I'm sitting down, but it had happened once to me on this special piano in Mujer, the song Paradise. I was actually running on the beach in this beautiful Miami day. It was in February when there's not a cloud in the sky, and it just came to me. All about the lack of the palms and the breeze. But generally, it's I'm thinking of something. I witnessed something. When I was traveling a lot before the pandemic, I love airports where there's so much energy going on, and people saying goodbye to husbands and wives and friends, and people getting reconnected, and just this massive energy. I love to kind of try to channel into that and imagine, okay, what just happened? Is that the girlfriend, the wife? Did they break up and then now they're back together again? And that gives me inspiration to come up with get the mind going to come up with crazy ideas.
Well, tell me this, what would be like the craziest thing that you saw or heard that gave you inspiration to write something, or that's something that became a part of a song?
Craziest thing.
Because I've read, and had people tell me, well, you won't believe this, but this is where that came from, or whatever. So I'm just curious if you had been in that same type of situation.
Well, I wrote a song called Lagordo De Lima, which literally translates into it sounds terrible in English, but like fat woman. But Lagordo De Lima also means like honey. It's like a term of endearment, like, hey, honey. And so I wrote this song, which it went to #1 actually, called Lagordo De Lima. That's a celebration of women, and it started. And it was all about, we filmed it in Puerto Rico, and it was all about, I just moved to Miami, and everywhere you go, it's like all these women are like rail thin, and you go out to dinner, they have a salad and nothing else. I'm like, come on, let's have some food. So it was kind of a reaction to that. I wrote this song celebrating women, and it went to #1. That was an insane story. So,
tell me this, what was it like when you saw that first #1?
I can remember where I was on the plane, and my manager, called me. I'm settling down, on the hustle and bustle. Finally, okay, yeah, how's it going? He's like, it's #1, it's #1. I'm like, what's #1? He's like, the song, you idiot, the song. It's exactly his words. It's like, oh, I didn't even, it took me out of context, and that was crazy.
Wow. How about the first time you heard one of your songs on the radio?
That was a lot of fun. That was the first one I heard was the one Eveluna Montaner with her dad Ricardo on Piano Sin Fronteras. Ya te olvidé. I actually have it. It's some words we did together for it. And that was on, and someone called me and they said, hey, turn on whatever station it was. And that was quite a thrill. And then at the same time, we're like going back to the studio, I could have done that a little bit different. But then you just go, you know what, forget it. It's done. You can't change it. So,
no matter what, you're always going to go, you know what if I would have done this or done that? You can't.
No, and I learned that after a year. It used to be at 3 a.m. after you turn in a project. Oh, but God, there's that one section, and then someone told me, Arthur, there's one thing about this business. You never finish a song. You abandon it. Kind of, just sarcastic, but it's true. It's not that you abandon it, but you know what? It's done. That's,
Yeah.
It's
like having it's like having a project car. Yeah, it's no matter how much you build it, it's never done. There's always something else you can do to it.
Oh yeah, when we're mastering Lagordo De Lima with the producer Sergio George, who's won tons of Grammys, and I'm like, okay, what about this? I'm wigging out. It was our last day, and he finally looked at me. He goes, do you think you're going to sell one more copy if we change that little thing? You really think that's going to? I'm like, Sergio, all right, I'm done. You're right. Good point.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody going out there. I would have bought this record, but
but yeah, at minute 2:37, it's missing something. I don't know what.
Yeah, if you would have brought the guitar in a half second quicker, you would have had my money. But you didn't, so I'm out.
Exactly, that's where I draw the line. I don't get it.
Now, tell me this: do you have any plans to go back into the studio anytime soon?
Yeah, definitely. I'm working on something really cool now with this amazing Colombian icon, Carlos Vives, from cumbia. He's and cumbia is like a style in Colombia, and we're mixing Detroit blues with cumbia. So that's really interesting.
That sounds very interesting.
Yeah, I'm doing that. I'm doing with this young Mexican singer, Natalie Cole. We're doing a song together. And in Spain, this group, Mocedades from the 80s, they're like the ABBA of the Latin world. They're doing a reunion album. I already recorded my piano stuff. So yeah, a bunch of stuff and looking, just writing every day, and okay, where's the magic? I got to find it. It's got to be somewhere. I just have to find it. So
well, tell you what, between the upcoming tour dates, the recording studios, you got a lot of stuff going on.
Oh, thanks so much, Michael. I really appreciate it. And Facebook, you can find an Arthur Hanlon Music at there's a, speaking of piano y Mujer, besides like the videos, there's a bunch of behind the scenes in the studio, which is some really funny stuff too in the middle of the pandemic. Should I take the mask off? No, Natalia, you can't sing with your mask on. Okay. And all this kind of stuff. So
that's great. We'll tell you what, throughout the show, Arthur, we've had your website and all your social media, YouTube channel, everything scrolling across the bottom of the screen so that folks can find you.
I just noticed that. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Well, tell you what, tell me this. Is there anything that we, any musical stone that we left, didn't turn over here?
No, I don't know, but I'd love to hear, from your audience too, and how did the pandemic, I always ask people, artists and people, how did the pandemic change what you listened to musically, or did it? Were you listening to a different style, or you discovered something? For me, I discovered, when everything slowed down to nothing last March, time to think about the family and really explore different kinds of music and really get to a much deeper level, I think, musically. And I'd love to hear, how about yourself? When it started, did it change your perception of what you were listening to?
Not so much change it, but it points I found myself gravitating to comfort music, if you will.
Interesting.
But then I'm somebody who, as long as I can remember, when I would hear something and like it, I would either figure out or seek out who those influences were, and then I would go listen to those artists and say, okay, well, I'm a huge Buddy Holly fan. And I do it both, forwards and backwards, if you will. People who were influenced by Buddy Holly, for example. So, I would find myself, when I would get to a point where it's okay, I've exhausted how many times I can listen to these, 30 artists or whatever. Then I would, kind of go on that hunt, looking for other things that either influenced them or were influenced by those artists.
Wow, that's fascinating. Someone was we were talking about it the other day about remixes, how they're now in vogue, everyone's doing a remix, but just what you're saying, music's always a remix. It's someone,
Exactly. If you look at how many, songs that have, take the Chuck Berry guitar riff.
Yeah.
Which was actually a piano riff to begin with.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. But when you look at how many songs have incorporated a variation on the Chuck Berry riff, or the rhythm pattern from Peggy Sue, and you can just go right down the line, all the things that are influenced by jump blues, you can just got to play connect the dots, if you will, and it'll just take you on a musical journey to where you end up listening to things that you may not have if you hadn't thought about it, in a logical way, since music is, mostly emotional.
Yeah.
If you do that, I used to do the same thing with reading liner notes and seeing who the musicians were on those songs that I liked, especially when you go through it. And if you do that enough, you'll see a lot of the same names popping up, and that leads you to listen to their music, or maybe some people that they played on. So to me, music is always a journey.
Absolutely. Definitely. The music, again, this is a piano, but for me, it's my vehicle to take me places, to try to take the audience with me, and how can we explore? What can we find?
Well, tell me this. You mentioned that it takes you places. What's a moment where when you were playing and it just kind of struck you, wow, I'm here? Where you're just kind of stunned that where that vehicle has taken you to a place you never thought you would go.
Well, during the PBS special Encanto del Caribe, which we did in the castle in Puerto Rico, apart from Mark Anthony, and Laura Pausini and Natalia, we invited Cheo Feliciano, who's at the time was 74 years old, one of the founders of the whole sound back then. And we did a song called El Raton, which is like a blues. And we start like that, and I'm in my my mindset. I'm just in my zone. And then something happened, and I realized that Cheo, this icon, was right next to me singing. And I got in the middle of the song, I almost forgot where I was, to be honest. The guy in 74 was like, okay, focus, get back in that where you were, and that was crazy.
Yeah, I would think. To tell me this, yeah, are other artists who have incorporated sounds into their recordings that they're not known for example. Do you have any of those albums that that you heard and said, wow, that was a really neat way to incorporate different styles into it?
Actually, what was fascinating in this project, Eveluna Montaner, she's only records in Spanish. She's like 16 million real Instagram followers but her English is better than mine. She's incredibly talented, and she loves like bluesy things, which I never would have dreamed of. So when we went to the studio, that was the whole thing. We had time. Okay, what do you want to do? She's very spiritual. So I was thinking, I'm from Detroit. How about Alleluia? So I went into that. And just started playing that groove like that. And she just perfectly went in and I was like, oh my God, that's never been done before. And she had never recorded it in English before. And it came out amazing. So the surprises like that just, incredible for me in music.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what keeps, people, coming back is that there's that feeling, that emotional response that you get, when you hear things like that. Yeah,
exactly. And that's why I think both of us are here, Michael, right? It's just
that's it exactly. So, well, I'll tell you what, Arthur, on that note, any last things you want to make sure that the viewers know, besides you got to say the upcoming tour dates? They can go to HBO Max now. Anything else that we want to make them aware of?
Just that I can't wait to get back on the road and playing in front of people live, and hopefully we can go to Chicago too. That's one city where I never played there, and I've had a couple of different offers. Something happened at the last minute that we didn't get to, and that was actually, besides the 4 cities we're starting with, that's the next one obviously that we want to do. So I just can't wait to get back and see everyone in person and have this musical communication open and play music.
Absolutely, Arthur. Absolutely. All right, everyone. I'll tell you what, on that note, we're going to bring this episode to a close. Arthur, thank you so much for joining us.
It's an honor, Michael. Thank you so much for having me, and can't wait to meet you in person and talk.
Absolutely. I'm hoping you come through Chicago soon.
I will. I'll let you know when we do, definitely.
All right. Sounds good to me. All right, everybody. Well, with that, we're going to bring this to a close. Everybody have a good night. Thank you for watching.
This has been Music Night at the Majestic with Michael Boswell. If you enjoyed this edition of Music Night at the Majestic, follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and at musicnight.net. Music Night at the Majestic is a copyright production of Starliner Media. Any use of the accounts and descriptions of this program, its audio or visual content, without the express written consent of Starliner Media is prohibited. Thank you for joining us this evening. We'll see you next time for Music Night at the Majestic. This is your announcer speaking. Starliner Media.